The RSI Scorpius, a heavy-sized fighter. This ship has guns and turrets galore, with them being located at nearly every point of the ship. It has bifolding wings to allow for different flight modes and semi-decent armour to rely on for the size. It has 0 SCU of cargo but does get some internal storage, for example to hold some water or weapons. This ship can be operated by a crew of 2, with the co-pilot gaining access to the top turret, which is on a rail, so you can actually make the shoot from the underside as well as the top. This is such a big fighter that you can hold 2 main weapons and 4 small weapons below the cockpit on equipment storage, which I'll show later on in the video. Talking about the price of this ship, and you pay the price of $240 without any tax added, and to buy this ship in-game it will be for 2,879,700 AUEC from Lorville. The ship's quantum drive is also pretty good, allowing you to go from Arc Corp to Microtech in one trip without having to refuel, so you can use it to travel to most places with ease and not worrying if you're chasing down a bounty about having to refuel. Of course, I've got to say it, but if you could like and subscribe, it would be very helpful and I thank you. So let's start off with a ship tour. And before we enter into the main cockpit, we have a few bits of equipment which can be accessed from the exterior. First of all, we have access to our weapon storage, so because as you can see this ship is really high up, it's actually quite massive when you're looking at it in game, you can store some weapons just under here. As you can see, 1 for each person because this is a 2-seater ship, 1 main weapon and 2 side weapons. And this retracts just like so. You have access to a couple more components just along here which you can access, and then there's also some storage options. As you can see here, there's access to storage, and then also on the other side. Now if we move towards the back of the ship, we have access to some more components. You can see our weapons just here on the side of the wings too. So just towards the back you can see we have a component here, and just a few below there. You also can see that this is the rail. This is how far your weapon goes down the co-pilot's turret before it kind of stops. So you can see all of this behind you and shoot. That's it for the exterior though, so let's move on and go into the cockpit. There are 2 different options to enter. You have the main pilot seat and then also the gunner seat. I'll enter into the pilot canopy. You can also see our missiles just there to the right. This is on both sides and on the top. Now entering into this cockpit, you can see the visibility is really nice. All around you, above you, with no kind of structural fixings to watch out for, and really nice as well, you can see below you, so it's really nice if someone's below you, you can land easily too. You only have access to 2 MFD screens, but this is okay, it's still usable. It would be nice if they had another one, but the co-pilot could use some. You have access to a few buttons, for example the weapons engine off, self-destruct button just up here, and to our right as well there are some buttons located there. You have access to the 4 main pilot weapons just when you're in this seat, but we'll exit out now and go into the co-pilot seat, as that's kind of it. So remember, you do have to exit the ship in order to enter the co-pilot seat. You can't just move yourself straight back there. As you can see, it's a very long way down to go. But you enter through the same ladder and just click down the bottom there to enter the gunner seat. You see a kind of bit pops out at the front too when you enter. Now just back here, you don't have access to any flying components of the ship, just the little turret at the back. You can also view the missiles. The visibility is okay, you can locate a few targets for your pilot. Other than that though, you enter the turret just here, and deploy brings it down to the bottom. You see it just tries to reposition it, but 4 Panther repeaters, so it's really nice and does give you a boost in weaponry if you do use this. That's it for a ship tour though. Now let's move on and talk about a bit of combat. And for weapons, this ship gets access to 4 sized 2 weapons. These are gimbaled and are 1 circumstock. These are also Badger laser repeaters. You also have access to 1 sized 3 turret with 4 sized 3 Panther repeaters on them. So actually more than your main weapons because they're bigger size and they're more strong. This is what the co-pilot can control but not yourself. It's quite unfortunate for solo players as that damage could come in real handy and make this thing so much more of a beast than it already is. On its own though, it's still alright, it does just take a little bit of time to destroy the bigger targets, which is definitely helped out by your bigger shield. The pilot also has access to missiles. You have access to 16 sized 2 missiles, so an absolute load of them. You will most likely die before you run out in that kind of sense. They aren't the strongest, but do always help with the initial weakening of the shields or armor of an enemy ship. You get access to one size 2 shield, which is pretty decent and better than most fighters, but definitely not the strongest against a heavier hitting ship like a hammerhead trying to fight you or some ship like that. So like most fighters, do try to stay out of combat. The acceleration of a ship is really nice, and you can get up to about 350 speed in atmosphere before it starts to slow up a little and detriment your kind of turning capabilities. But the handling of a ship is really good, and even at higher speeds you can still turn quite well. Definitely not on par with some lighter fighters, but luckily this is a heavy fighter. Now it's time for a personal review / overview, and personally I feel like this ship is a very strong fighter and one you should definitely think about using if you haven't before. It's a little annoying that you can only control the turret from the co-pilot seat, but I think it still works okay even without it. I feel like maybe if they did allow it to be used from one seat, it may be a little OP in the current patch because of the amount of damage output you'll be doing. I really like the ability to be able to hold weapons below the seats, and it's a nice feature and allows you to both have an extra set of weapons each and 2 smaller weapons. It's also nice that it has some internal storage for anything you'd like to put in it, for example water or weapons or anything you think of. Its feature to become a smaller silhouette is a really nice feature too, but I feel like it doesn't really do anything at the moment, and it should really pick up speeds when it's activated if you're, for example, in atmosphere, and it kind of looks like it should if you do also agree with me. That's it though for the Scorpius review, and I hope you all liked the video, and I will see you in the next one. Duffer out.